Maybe I'll tilt it slightly. There we go. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming today. My name is Greg Mady. I'm the president of the Edmonton District Labor Council, and we have the honor of hosting this event every year. I got to say, just from a personal note, as an injured worker, this has always been a hard day for me, but I thank you all for coming. Today, I'll just start us off with a land acknowledgement here. The Edmonton District Labor Council acknowledges the traditional land on which we reside is in Treaty 6 territory. We would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Nehiyo, this is different than what I usually read, Cree, Dene, Anishinaabe, Saulteaux, Nakota Iska, Nakota Sioux, and Nitsi Tapi, Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge this as the Métis homeland and the home of one of the largest communities of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to share Edmonton as home. Together we can call upon our collective honored traditions and spirits to work in building a great city for today and future generations. And with that, I'll pass it over to Shar, who's going to be our host for today. Thank you all for coming.
Welcome, friends, members of the community, and my labor family. My name is Charmaine St. Germain. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a Métis woman, a member of UFCW Local 401, and IAM 1722. I am a Union Labor Relations Officer with UFCW Local 401 and an Executive Board member with the Edmonton District Labor Council. Today we gather here not only to mourn the dead, but to fight for the living. For many years, the Edmonton District Labor Council has hosted this annual event and is dedicated to improving the lives of working people. Last year in Alberta, 203 workers lost their lives due to work-related illnesses and injuries, a 25% increase from 2023. Of that 203, 112 workers lost their lives due to occupational disease. 50 workers lost their lives due to trauma. 29 workers lost their lives due to motor vehicle accidents. 2 workers lost their lives due to air crashes, and 9 workers lost their lives to cardiac accidents. Health and safety is more than just what we see. Many workplace hazards are invisible, and workplace injuries can be invisible. Some workplace hazards may not be immediately apparent and can often cause harm over time. Some of these hazards include chemical exposure, noise, air quality issues, and psychosocial hazards such as stress, bullying, and discrimination. Often, some invisible factors can cause damage faster than others, such as psychological trauma. Psychological injuries such as stress, anxiety, and depression can be brought on by workplace stressors and traumatic events and can have a significant impact on individual well-being and their ability to work. When we think of workers in certain fields, we don't always recognize the psychological impacts that their jobs might be having on them. There are bus drivers whose mental health can be affected on a day-to-day basis from witnessing or experiencing workplace accidents and violence from passengers. Or how about city workers, who some of them often young workers, who are experiencing the impacts of having to evict homeless people in their communities, or in our communities. Having to do this on a regular basis at work may lead to workers to experience compassion fatigue, emotional exhaustion, and even detachment from having to repeatedly encounter difficult situations and traumatic events. Retail workers are highly impacted by visible injuries. Every day, they must deal with unpredictable customers, bullying and harassment, unrealistic work demands, and lack of supports from employers who often are not equipped to deal with mental health in the workplace. Frontline workers, such as those who work in healthcare, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics, while there is a physical risk to those workers in these professions, there is also an increased psychological impact to their health. They're highly exposed to stressful and demanding workplaces and work environments, which lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and burnout. And these are only just a few examples. So many workers in many different fields are experiencing mental health injuries due to their working environments. It is estimated that 500,000 Canadian workers are absent from work due to mental health issues. And last known data from 2021 reports that 8.7% of employed Canadians reported mental health-related disability. In Alberta, Bill 47 was passed in 2020 and was to focus on psychological harm alongside physical injuries. However, it doesn't do enough. It limits presumptive coverage for psychological injuries in certain professions, and there are so many flaws, and it puts the burden on workers to prove that their mental health injuries are a result of the work that they do. We need to push at all levels, governments at all levels, to create better legislation to support workers with visible, invisible injuries. Governments must do better for all workers. Change needs to be made to Occupational Health and Safety Act and the WCB Act. We must also push our employers to be better, to be educated on visible workplace hazards. Education is key, and there needs to be employer training in all workplaces so that employers can identify and manage stress and recognize things such as bullying and harassment. Employers need to improve resources and support for mental health issues and make sure that they have programs that are easily accessible, like EAP. There also needs to be bigger penalties, such as jail time, for employers who violate health and safety laws. Workers deserve better. They deserve to return home safe at the end of their workday, and we must all be committed to fight for safer workplaces. So as we gather here today to mourn those that we've lost and observe behind me the Broken Families Monument. So it serves to remind us of those loved ones we've lost. On each of the four sides of the monument, a family can be seen with one family member missing. That missing family member went to work, but never came home because of a fatal workplace accident. Now I would like to invite Gina Pontel and Jared Matsunaga Turnbull from the Alberta Workers Health Centre up here to share with us the names of the 203 workers who lost their lives last year in Alberta. And at this time, I would also like to welcome those who'd like to lay wreaths up to the monument to place their wreaths. Thank you.
Thank you. In a minute, to bring a human face to the numbers, we will read the 203 names of the officially accepted fatalities for 2024. Let us remember these people. I ask us to also remember those people who are not named, their families and communities, those workers who passed away from occupational diseases that were not reported to nor accepted by the WCB, and those workers who continue to suffer from work-related injuries and diseases. On this day of mourning, let us acknowledge and honor all these people, our family, our friends, our coworkers.
Anthony, 93, occupational disease. Heidi, 68, occupational disease. Brian, 68, trauma. Paul, 73, trauma. Bruce, 68, trauma. William, 66, trauma. Dennis, 85, occupational disease. Alan, 69, trauma. Joseph, 91, occupational disease. Lawrence, 82, occupational disease.
Steve, 69, trauma. Robert, 85, occupational disease. Alan, 78, occupational disease. Kenneth, 92, occupational disease. Alan, 77, occupational disease. Brian, 76, occupational disease. Bradley, 67, trauma. Rocco, 83, occupational disease. Gerhardt, 92, occupational disease. Clement, 81, occupational disease.
Ronald, 85, occupational disease. Keith, 76, occupational disease. Morris, 73, trauma. Gary, 61, trauma. Willard, 93, occupational disease. Edward, 63, occupational disease. Andrew, 69, occupational disease. Walter, 85, occupational disease. William, 65, trauma. Daniel, 80, occupational disease.
Donald, 94, occupational disease. Gunter, 90, occupational disease. Dennis, 84, occupational disease. William, 85, occupational disease. Ken, 79, cardiac. Jan, 78, occupational disease. Sydney, 75, occupational disease. Stephen, 85, occupational disease. Raymond, 89, occupational disease. Gary, 77, occupational disease.
Paul, 75, occupational disease. Marinus, 73, occupational disease. Robert, 92, occupational disease. Paul, 77, occupational disease. Diane, 67, occupational disease. Sherry, 59, cardiac. Donald, 82, occupational disease. Eric, 93, occupational disease. Heidi, 58, occupational disease. Angela, 44, trauma. Walter, 63, occupational disease.
Antonio, 84, occupational disease. Sheila, 73, occupational disease. Christopher, 29, occupational disease. William, 78, occupational disease. James, 76, occupational disease. John, 84, occupational disease. Dennis, 73, occupational disease. Douglas, 77, occupational disease. Andrew, 78, occupational disease. Julius, 83, occupational disease. William, 83, occupational disease.
Alan, 62, occupational disease. Robert, 65, trauma. Benjamin, 75, occupational disease. Charles, 92, occupational disease. Benedict, 84, occupational disease. Brian, 81, occupational disease. Timothy, 47, trauma. Gerald, 78, occupational disease. Nauzo, 89, occupational disease. Ronald, 66, occupational disease. Raymond, 65, trauma.
Douglas, 63, occupational disease. Patricia, 57, trauma. Harvey, 82, occupational disease. Venus, 64, occupational disease. Ernest, 81, occupational disease. Hector, 78, occupational disease. Lester, 82, occupational disease. David, 64, occupational disease. Francis, 79, occupational disease. Ronald, 59, occupational disease.
Norman, 89, occupational disease. Jacques, 77, occupational disease. Bud, 82, occupational disease. Patrick, 66, occupational disease. Kenneth, 85, occupational disease. Henry, 88, occupational disease. Jay, 78, occupational disease. Wynn, 80, occupational disease. Horst, 86, occupational disease. Randy, 63, occupational disease.
Wilfred, 82, occupational disease. Leonard, 78, occupational disease. Paul, 60, trauma. John, 79, occupational disease. Royden, 73, occupational disease. Milton, 71, motor vehicle collision. Dale, 81, occupational disease. Abraham, 70, occupational disease. Stephen, 92, occupational disease. Ross, 65, occupational disease.
Roger, 80, occupational disease. David, 52, occupational disease. Trevor, 48, trauma. Peter, 88, occupational disease. James, 80, occupational disease. Chester, 84, occupational disease. Raymond, 79, occupational disease. Damanpreet, 26, motor vehicle collision. Barry, 40, occupational disease. Lynn, 62, cardiac.
Donald, 87, occupational disease. Robert, 91, occupational disease. Eva, 68, cardiac. Monica, 66, trauma. Jason, 37, motor vehicle collision. Travis, 45, motor vehicle collision. John, 42, trauma. Terry, 63, motor vehicle collision. Wayne, 57, motor vehicle collision. Paul, 70, occupational disease.
Leonard, 75, occupational disease. Gurminder, 24, trauma. Lorne, 73, motor vehicle collision. Allen, 69, motor vehicle collision. Terry, 72, occupational disease. Barry, 52, cardiac. Joseph, 29, air crash. Allen, 58, cardiac. Goitom, 55, motor vehicle collision. Allen, 85, occupational disease.
Stephen, 62, occupational disease. Gurmeet, 35, trauma. Ryan, 30, trauma. Gregory, 61, occupational disease. Tara, 18, trauma. Edward, 73, occupational disease. Mahdi, 41, motor vehicle collision. Murray, 34, motor vehicle collision. Jason, 46, cardiac. Clayton, 29, motor vehicle collision.
Brian, 87, occupational disease. Michael, 73, occupational disease. Jeremy, 30, trauma. Brian, 68, trauma. James, 50, motor vehicle collision. Abdul, 46, trauma. Robert, 66, cardiac. Neil, 53, motor vehicle collision. John, 86, occupational disease. Garth, 75, occupational disease.
Richard, 82, occupational disease. James, 71, occupational disease. Parminder, 52, motor vehicle collision. Evan, 38, trauma. Malcolm, 57, cardiac. Victor, 23, trauma. Derek, 53, trauma. Natalie, 34, air crash. Donald, 71, occupational disease. Brian, 74, occupational disease.
Gurinder, 31, motor vehicle collision. Renell, 43, trauma. Eli, 19, trauma. Mario, 59, motor vehicle collision. Todd, 55, motor vehicle collision. John, 71, occupational disease. Stanley, 82, occupational disease. Brian, 52, motor vehicle collision. Lee Joe, 34, motor vehicle collision. Colin, 45, trauma.
John, 70, occupational disease. Morgan, 24, trauma. Rajinder, 34, trauma. Harshvir, 31, motor vehicle collision. Ashton, 27, trauma. Quinton, 20, motor vehicle collision. Mark, 53, trauma. Peter, 46, trauma. Jashandeep, 22, trauma. Merrill, 63, cardiac.
Thomas, 88, occupational disease. Saeed, 48, motor vehicle collision. Jeremy, 36, motor vehicle collision. Tony, 38, trauma. Danny, 33, trauma. Lance, 43, motor vehicle collision. Travis, 34, trauma. Jason, 50, trauma. Emily, 24, trauma. Dylan, 38, motor vehicle collision.
John, 51, motor vehicle collision. Marty, 54, trauma. Andrew, 54, trauma. Harshandeep, 20, trauma. Jagleet, 42, trauma. David, 44, trauma. Christopher, 29, trauma. Jacob, 38, motor vehicle collision. Ricky, 20, motor vehicle collision. Yuri, 38, trauma.
Thank you, Jared and Gina. Next, I'd like to invite up Corey Longo from the AFL, who is the Secretary-Treasurer.
Good morning, all. I'm honored to be here with you today. This is a very meaningful and mournful day. I'm honored to be here to raise the concerns of workers who have passed or been injured. Unfortunately, here we are again year after year. First and foremost, I wanted to bring greetings on behalf of the Alberta Federation of Labour, the 24 different provincial unions that we represent, the 170,000 workers that they represent, and President Gil McGowan. This day is a day that's very foundational to the labor movement. We spend a lot of our time thinking about it, and I was thinking about it last night. I was thinking about it this morning. Just by a show of hands, who here has ever been injured at work? Okay, who here has ever had a family member that's been injured at work? Yeah, most of us can understand the true impact of this day. I was thinking about how perverse our system is, that we go to work, we put our bodies on the line, sometimes our lives on the line for this transaction of we provide a service, we give our work, and the transaction is wages. And I was just thinking about the impact that has on our daily lives. I was injured, actually more than once, as a letter carrier. I still sustain that injury. Last night, after a really busy weekend, I was able to have some downtime with my kids, and we were rolling around on the ground in the front lawn, and I had to ask my kid to get off my leg because it was sore and because my knee still gets swollen from playing with them. And I was just thinking, how on earth did I get in this situation for where years later I'm still suffering from these injuries? This is this transaction that we have within our employers, and I wanted to say that all of this has existed. This is not new to the labor movement, but because of unions, because of empowered workers, we have been able to reduce these numbers. We've been able to get in protections to keep our workers safe, to keep us safe in the workplace. Things like local joint health and safety committees, incredibly powerful bodies that protect workers on the work floor, where we have meaningful voice and vote at these decisions, making these decisions about our workplaces. Things like pushing for break times, for scheduled work hours, for sick time, for WCB coverage through legislation. And yes, all of those legislation is incredibly important, and I'm thinking today, especially as we gather on, a federal election day, that we support and we vote for representatives to enact changes, to push forward our issues. But the thing is, folks, is that we give our voice to those politicians, but the most powerful thing is an empowered, educated, and a strong worker on the work floor. If we truly want to mitigate, to reduce injuries, to reduce fatalities, it is through an educated and empowered workforce. Workers who go to work, who know their rights, who know when to stand up and say, no, that is enough, that is not right, I am not doing that. And how we do that is through the labor movement. We do that by empowering workers, we do that by educating, we do that by spending time with them. That's how we do it. We spend time with them on the work floor, we talk to these coworkers. Now, today the theme is invisible injury. And I was thinking about this and how we may relate this to our current day. And yes, there's a lot of diagnosed invisible injuries, but also as we've been traveling, traveling around the province, talking to workers, there right now is this underlying anxiety and stress that's really top of mind for a lot of folks. And that may not be diagnosed. They may not have a term that is put on that, but that is a result of the situation that we're in, this crisis, this economic instability that we have here in Canada, that we have here globally, that's being impacted through international forces as well. Folks, this stress and anxiety is coming from when we don't know if our job is secure, if we don't know if we're going to pay our bills, be able to pay our bills, we don't know if we will have a job to go to. And once again, folks, I want to provide you with hope. I want to leave here with empowerment. The way to address these crises, the way to address these shortcomings of the system that we operate in is through worker empowerment, is through the labor movement, is through not just our unions, but the actual members that represent our unions. Folks, as I've said, this is a tremendously important day to the labor movement. We have all these sayings, fight for the living, an injury to one is an injury to all, and we have made tremendous progress over the years, but there's still so much work to do. And I just want us all to leave here to think about how we can protect ourselves, how we can create a better today, a better tomorrow, how we can work to educate and empower our workers and give you hope that we have the power. The working class has the power, unions have the power, the people have the power, and we just need to keep pushing and keep going forward. So friends, the struggle continues. Solidarity, it's an honor to be with you here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Next, I'd like to welcome up Shelley LaValle and Janice Cube from CUPE 3550.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Shelley LaValle, and this is Janice Cube. We are from Local 3550 with Edmonton Public Support Staff. So a question asked by Local 3550 Mandy Lamoureux, our president, hangs heavy in my mind. Who goes to work knowing they are going to be physically and sexually assaulted? For a good portion of CUPE Local 3550's membership, this is a daily reality. They go into work expecting to be struck and grabbed, scratched, and grouped. Imagine the toll this would take on your mental health. For 196 days of the year, you wake up and get ready to be harmed and harassed in your workplace. For 196 days, you drive, bike, or transit to work, not knowing if you will be leaving with bike marks and bruises. For 196 days, you must steel yourself before passing through the doors of your workplace, just so you can be ready for what the day might bring. The mental impact is as profound and physical impact on our members and workers across the country. experience it every day. They experience it every day. What is worse is the mental effects of stress compounds with the physical effects of a dangerous or harmful workplace. Long-term stress has been shown to increase the risk of medical problems such as headaches, and gastro problems. A weakened immune system, high blood pressure, and stroke. In short, a lack of physiological safety in the workplace kills, and often it kills silently and slowly and invisibly. For the 203 workers who lost their lives over the course of the last year, I have no doubt in my mind that many of the accident, illnesses, and injuries they experienced were preceded, accompanied, and followed by lack of support and decline in mental health. The loss of these individuals has had a profound effect on those who called their colleagues, families, and friends. The stress of grieving, the sudden awareness of unforeseen dangers, and the lack of support in the workplace builds and compounds, negatively affecting mental health and further increasing the chance that life-affecting injury and illness could occur. We owe it to those 203 workers and their colleagues, families, and friends to ensure that workplaces are psychologically and physically safe. We must fight and advocate in the workplace to ensure that the supports are there for ourselves, for you guys and your colleagues, families, and friends. When stress mounts and our mental health begins to suffer, we must defend our rights and ensure that employers, the court, and the provincial and federal government are doing what they are legally obligated to do to ensure that everyone works in a psychologically and physically safe workplace. I hope by this time next year and the years to come, we will see a marked decrease in the stress and mental health-based injuries and illnesses, and that one day no CUPE Local 3550 members and no workers will have to grapple with the anxiety or stress as they make their way to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shelley and Janice. So next I would like to welcome Peggy Wright, who is the MLA for Edmonton, Beverly, Clairview.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today with my colleagues, Rocky Pancholi and Joe Cece, and David Shepard, who was here earlier as well. We're very pleased to join you and say a few words on behalf of our leader, Naheed Nenshi. Today, on the International Day of Mourning, and in front of the Broken Families Monument, we gather to remember those folks across our province whose lives have been forever changed by a workplace accident, injury, or death. 203 lives lost in Alberta last year is a staggering number. It's unforgivable. Brothers, sisters, siblings, daughters, sons, Albertans who got up every day, each day, and simply went to work. They worked hard, they supported themselves, their families, their communities. There were thousands more who suffered workplace injury, illness, work-related illness or injury. And today, we remember and honor each of them. And certainly this year's theme, Invisible Injuries Not Part of the Job, is not only a clarion call, but one that resonates very, very deeply with me as I have a family member who suffers from a workplace psychological injury. The acknowledgement of the often devastating effects of those injuries is too often hard to come by. And part of the reason is because people feel shame. We know that people underreport. And that's just one of the many reasons this is a really timely reminder to us all that we bear a collective responsibility. Workers, employers, allies, government, and opposition too. All of us must be vigilant when it comes to workplace safety. That's physical safety and psychological safety too. Workers experiencing these injuries must be cared for and supported much better than they are presently. And this includes making sure we are simply not content with a minimum of standards, minimum of responses, resources, or training, or preventative programming, or the actions of a government that sees workers as red tape. Together, we must support and advocate. We need stronger, better regulations and enforcement with teeth and a willingness to uphold and live by the Westray decision. We need joint health and safety committee members who receive the appropriate hours of training. We need to make sure there's a greater understanding and compassion, not only about the toll those psychological injuries take on a person, but also to help others understand that that injury could be caused by one singular incident or a series of incidents over a period of years. We need to demand presumptive coverage be in place for all workers, not just a few. As the nature of work constantly changes, so should workplace safety. Jobs aren't the same as they were 10 years ago. The foundation has changed and seems a little bit less stable than it used to. We've been through a pandemic. We're living in a gig economy. There's new technology that surrounds us all the time. Those workplace standards have to keep up. Workplaces are supposed to be safe for everyone, no matter the job, no matter the sector. Every worker needs to get home at the end of every shift safely every day. They deserve no less. To those who've been injured by an accident or other workplace hazards, we stand with you. And to those of you who are here today, mourning the loss of loved ones due to unsafe work, please know that we mourn with you, and we vow to continue to be vigilant, continue the fight, honor their stories, their names, and their memories. Solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Next, I'd like to welcome up the president of ATU 569, Steve Bradshaw.
Thank you, everybody. What I've got to say here, you know, as solemn an affair as it is to have a day of mourning for lost workers, it's also invigorating to me to know that all of you have taken the time to be here, and I thank you all for that. It's very important that we remember our fallen workers. I'm Steve Bradshaw. I'm the president of Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 569. I think a lot of the words that we have to say here, we're repeating ourselves, but I think these are words that bear repeating over and over again. So today we gather with heavy hearts on the day of mourning, a solemn time to remember workers who have lost their lives or suffered injuries or become ill because of their work. Every year on April 28th, we pause to honor their memory and to renew our commitment to safer workplaces. This year, our theme is Invisible Injuries, a powerful reminder that not all wounds bleed, not all scars can be seen. When we talk about workplace injuries, we often think of physical harm, an accident on a construction site, a fall, machinery that malfunctions. These are tragic and devastating, but we must also speak clearly and loudly about the injuries we can't see. We must speak out about the chronic stress that builds over years, slowly stealing a worker's sense of self, the anxiety that becomes unbearable, the burnout that erodes both mental and physical well-being, the trauma experienced by first responders, healthcare workers, social workers, transit workers, and so many others who carry the emotional burdens of their work home with them every single day. These invisible injuries are real. They can be just as life-altering and just as fatal as any physical accident. Yet too often they are dismissed, ignored, even stigmatized. No one should suffer in silence. No worker should be made to feel weak for admitting that they are struggling. and no workplace should ever foster a culture where mental health is neglected in the name of productivity. Today, as we remember those who have died, we also recognize those who live with the pain that others cannot see. We remember the workers who took their own lives after enduring years of untreated psychological injuries. We remember those whose illnesses were caused by toxic exposure, harmful substances invisible to the eye, but devastating to the body. And we remember the families who are left grieving someone who never got the help they needed. Honoring these workers means more than moments of silence. It means taking action. It means ensuring that mental health is treated with the same seriousness as physical health. That workers have access to the support without judgment, without delay, and without barriers. It means holding employers accountable not just for safety gear and training, but for creating a culture of respect, support, and open dialogue. And it means pushing governments to strengthen the laws that protect both body and mind. Let today be a day not just of remembrance, but of reckoning. Let it mark a renewed commitment to the unseen, to see the unseen, to hear the unheard, and to care for those who feel forgotten. I'll just take a minute to reflect a bit on the people that ATU represents. Those bus drivers out there, those transit workers, they're out in the public, they're there all the time. They are routinely at risk. They push their schedules, they pass up washroom breaks, they run red lights and stop signs just to keep the schedule. And the schedule is always so tight. They suffer muscle tissue injuries. They suffer psychological injuries. And I can tell you that during the pandemic, some of them were required, mind you, to carry passengers who were tested positive for COVID. These are workers that suffer those unseen injuries, and we want to respect that they have those issues to carry with them for the rest of their lives. So to those who we have lost, we remember you. To those who are still suffering, we see you. And to all workers, your health, your safety, and your dignity matter. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Next, I'd like to invite up the Secretary from UNA 196, Rachel Steele.
So, okay, there we go. I think that's a little better. Everyone can hear me. I'm Rachel Steele. I am a registered nurse. I'm from Local 196, which is Edmonton Community, and I'm also a proud Métis woman. I'm going to speak as a perspective of a registered nurse, but you can interchange nurse for any front-facing worker in healthcare, because I think that we're all experiencing the same thing. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for caring enough to listen. We often say nurses are the backbone of our healthcare system, but like any backbone, under constant strain, without proper support, it begins to crack. And right now, that is exactly what is happening. During the COVID-19 pandemic, which we like to think is over, but a lot of us know that it is still going rampant, nurses showed up every day through fear, uncertainty, and unimaginable loss. They held hands with patients, taking their last breaths. They worked exhausting shifts, often without enough resources, enough staff, or enough time to process what they were going through. But what's harder to see is the toll on their mental health. And I know a lot of the previous speakers did also address mental health, but now I think nurses are fighting a quieter, ongoing battle with post-traumatic stress disorder, moral injury, and burnout. And this invisible crisis is fueling a dangerous retention problem in healthcare, one that we must address with urgency, compassion, and systemic change. First, we need to understand what the mental health challenges are. So PTSD is a psychological condition triggered by witnessing or experiencing trauma. In nursing, this could mean seeing patients die alone, being unable to save someone despite doing everything right, or working for weeks in an environment where life and death decisions are constant. Symptoms of PTSD, like flashbacks, nightmares, emotional numbness, or hypervigilance, they don't stay at work. They follow nurses home, disrupt their sleep relationships, and in many cases, their ability to continue doing the job they once loved. Moral injury is another deeply painful challenge. It occurs when nurses are forced to act in ways that go against their personal ethics. Picture having to decide who gets a ventilator, or watching someone die without their family because pandemic protocols say no visitors. That weight stays with you, and it chips away at your sense of purpose and humanity. And then, of course, there's burnout, the exhaustion, the detachment, the creeping sense of futility. And during COVID, burnout didn't just grow, it exploded. So what happens when PTSD, moral injury, and burnout go untreated? Nurses leave. In fact, nearly half of young nurses in Alberta are leaving the profession before they turn 35. That's not just a statistic, that's an emergency. It's not only hurting our nurses, it's hurting patients too. Burned out, traumatized nurses can't be expected to give their best care. Medical errors increase, patient outcomes decline, and the pressure on the remaining staff only grows. But amid this crisis, there is some good news. After years of pushing for equal treatment, nurses in Alberta are finally being recognized for the trauma they endured. Thanks to the relentless advocacy of a group of dedicated Alberta nurses and the United Nurses of Alberta, the Government of Alberta has committed to bringing forward legislation that would grant Presumptive Workers Compensation Board, or WCB, coverage to nurses for psychological injuries like PTSD. Something that other first responders like police, firefighters, and EMTs have had for years. So yeah, definitely clap. This has been definitely my fight for the last 5 years. And why does this matter? Because until now, nurses had to prove their trauma came from work, a painful, almost impossible burden. Meanwhile, their main male-dominated counterparts in policing and firefighting received automatic recognition. This discrepancy wasn't just unfair, it was discriminatory. Nursing is a profession made up largely of women, and the lack of presumptive PTSD coverage reflected a deeply gendered inequality in how we value certain kinds of frontline labor. And I can also see that for our EAs, mostly female, mostly gendered inequality in how we pay them. Thanks to this proposed legislation, expected to reach Alberta's cabinet by June 30th, 2025, registered nurses and psychiatric nurses should soon be presumed to have work-related PTSD when diagnosed, just like other first responders. No more jumping through hoops, no more waiting months for care. This is about dignity, respect, and justice. At this time, I am cautiously optimistic, but grounded in the reality that we have a provincial government with a track record of misleading statements. This isn't just about benefits, it's about recognizing the emotional weight nurses carry every day and building a system that helps them heal. It's about understanding that mental health matters just as much as physical health and making sure our healthcare workers get the same support so they selfishly give to others. And while this could be a crucial win, it is not the end of the fight. Alberta nurses are still pushing for broader access to mental health services, safer staffing levels, and long-term structural reforms to prevent the trauma before it starts. To truly tackle this crisis, we need more legislation, and we need a culture shift. We need stronger leadership to identify and address trauma before it becomes a crisis, workplace flexibility, and adequate time off to help nurses recover, peer support programs, counseling, and mental health services embedded in the system, not an optional add-on. And most of all, we need to listen to nurses and believe them when they say they're struggling. To healthcare leaders, policy, and the public, nurses have carried us through our worst days. It's time that we carry them through theirs. I should probably read the last sentence before I move. And to your nurses, your pain is valid. Your voice matters. And finally, the system is starting to hear you. This proposed change in Alberta is proof that advocacy works, unity matters, and that when nurses speak out, things can change. And this is also when workers speak out, things can change. So we can't stop here. We have to keep pushing, let's keep caring, let's keep fighting for a healthcare system that doesn't just demand resilience from nurses, but gives them support, respect, and the resources they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Great. Next, I'd like to welcome the president of the Edmonton District Labor Council, Greg Mady.
Thanks, everybody. Our last speaker is the acting mayor, Ann Stevenson. She's also the councillor for this board, but they're in session right now, so she's coming, but she's not here yet. So this is the first time we've said 5 to 10 minutes for speeches, and everybody took 5. Usually that's not the problem that we have. But in the meantime, we have unwrapped the food and the drinks over there, so please go ahead and help yourself. Also, just a reminder that if you did purchase a wreath at the end of this ceremony, if you'd like to take it home, that's also appropriate, or we just leave them here. So please talk and reminisce about the day, and when Ann gets here, we'll just have her deliver the proclamation in a few words. Thank you. Right, everybody come on back. Did you hear that part of my previous message? I think we got as much attention as we're going to get, Councillor. Or sorry,
No, that's
Acting
just,
Mayor.
oh no, Councillor is fine. Thank you all so much, and I apologize for my timing. I really appreciate the opportunity to gather with you today and to share some remarks on behalf of Edmonton City Council. So I have the honor of representing Ward O'Damon, where we're gathered today, and today I'm with you as the Deputy Mayor of Edmonton. So, of course, we are pausing today and paying our respects to the people who have lost their lives, been injured, or facing illness as a result of their jobs or work-related incident. No matter what profession people hold, each one of them contributes to our communities, and in return, they deserve to be protected in the work that they do. Every worker deserves to arrive at their jobs knowing that they will make it home. But tragically, we know that this isn't always the case. On behalf of City Council, I want to offer my condolences to the families who have lost loved ones, co-workers who have lost a colleague, and to communities who have lost a valued member. The City of Edmonton is committed to working with our industry partners, including the Edmonton and District Labor Council, to ensure workplace safety remains a top priority in the work that happens each day to keep our city moving. This is a vital focus as we continue to build an Edmonton for everyone. In honor of the memory of individuals no longer with us, I would like to share a proclamation on behalf of Edmonton City Council. So whereas the National Day of Mourning honors and remembers those who have lost their lives, been injured, or suffered an illness due to their work, and whereas 203 individuals passed away from workplace illnesses or injuries in Alberta in 2024, the youngest of whom was 18 years old. And whereas this day is a call to action for all Canadians to renew their commitment to improving the health and safety conditions in workplaces, and whereas the City of Edmonton is dedicated to providing a safe and healthy working environment for all of its employees and facilitating workspaces that support both their physical and mental wellness, therefore, I, Deputy Mayor Ann Stevenson, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2025, National Day of Mourning in Edmonton, Alberta's capital city. Thank you. I'll just present. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. So as a closer, I would just like to thank you all for being part of today's Day of Mourning event. And a special thank you to all our guest speakers and the EDLC for hosting this event. Just a reminder, as Greg mentioned earlier, for those of you who has purchased wreaths, you're welcome to please come and take them with you. And I would like to remind everyone that on May 1st, there is a May Day March and Rally. It's happening, which May 1st is this Thursday. Everyone is welcome. They're meeting at the Dr. Wilbert McIntyre Park at 5:30 sharp. So again, thank you, everyone. I encourage you all to keep fighting for workers' rights and for the improvement of health and safety for all workers. And please enjoy the day, and you're welcome again to refreshments. Thank you again for joining us. Take care.